This chemical spill forced the evacuation of more than 200 people when a truck overturned on Highway 1. Emergency personnel are working to control the substance. It took emergency experts 9 hours to contain it and keep it under control. No one is sure right now how.
Officials estimate thousands of fish will be killed along the 2-mile stretch of the river. Ironically, the leaking chemical is used for water purification.
The leaking reactor sent a radioactive steam cloud over acres of crops. Authorities are not certain of the extent of the damage.
Both officers have been hospitalized for chemical exposure. They are in critical but stable condition.
Investigators say the fire started under a loading dock, causing stored propane cylinders to explode. Fire officials say at least 50 different chemicals are stored in the warehouse, so extreme caution is advised. Eyewitnesses say flames were shooting 50 feet in the air.
This morning, a disgruntled employee torched Danford Plastics, sending toxic black smoke for miles.
Chemicals, they're everywhere, in our cities, towns, and neighborhoods. As public safety first responders, what's your responsibility when an accident, fire, or calamity is complicated by the release of hazardous chemicals?
You've got to accept that hands off now applies to you, the first responder.
Awareness of hazardous materials in your community is critical for first responders. Awareness means recognizing your limitations to respond to a hazardous materials incident.
Most of you probably feel capable and obligated to handle any hazmat incident. The fact is, you're not.
First responders must be able to judge whether rescue of trapped victims should even be attempted until the arrival of hazmat technical experts.
Realize that in some instances, rescue means the recovery of dead bodies. And if you're not a hazmat trained expert, you could end up injured or dead.
When an emergency call goes out, you don't know what you're in for. Don't think to yourself, it can't happen here. The U.S. endures literally thousands of hazmat spills, leaks, fires, and explosions per year. They happen every day. And every day, public safety personnel are put at great risk. Much of what you're up against is on the move. 4 billion tons of regulated hazardous materials are transported annually. That's 500,000 hazmat movements every day. Despite rail safety efforts and regulations, derailments and spills still occur. Despite motor carrier laws and training, over-the-road toxic wrecks still happen. And despite standards and monitoring, industry and commercial accidents, fires, and toxic releases still threaten life and property. The purpose of this program is to make you aware of the hazmat threat, to demonstrate your limited roles and responsibilities in a hazmat incident, and to keep you from becoming a hazmat statistic.
Primary mission here is to effect the rescue.
Hazmat incidents require the response of a highly trained, closely coordinated, multi-agency team. By getting this team on the site, you've done your best to mitigate the hazmat incident. This program concentrates on 3 specific responsibilities of the first responder at the awareness level. They are how to safely approach and detect a hazmat incident, how to identify hazardous materials, and who to notify for expert hazmat help. Substances are classified as hazardous if they easily catch fire, are corrosive, react easily with other chemicals, or are poisonous. Some substances cause cancer. Hazardous materials are located where you might expect them and where you might not. They roll through the streets and on rails, They're close to home and family. They're stored in hardware, paint, and handyman stores. And they sit in warehouses and garages. Frequently, dangerous chemicals are illegally dumped. Leaks and accidents occur at truck stops. A fire or explosion could involve every truck in the lot and any hazardous materials they carry. Operators of clandestine labs illegally store, transport, and abandon hazardous chemicals. Some legitimate companies illegally warehouse or dump chemical and biological substances. Small but dangerous amounts of hazardous materials are legally shipped without special labeling to alert you of chemical danger. Many potentially dangerous shipments are exempt from standard safe transportation rules. Highway travel and accidents can rupture containers, causing substances to mix into a volatile reaction. The first responder now faces direct chemical harm during even minor traffic accidents or routine stops. Hazardous materials injure through chemical exposure, fire and explosion, oxygen deficiency, ionizing radiation, and biological hazards. Hazardous material toxins easily enter the human body. They can be inhaled, absorbed through the skin, inadvertently put into the mouth and ingested, or injected directly into the body through a puncture wound. Only the hazmat experts are trained and equipped to stay healthy. Chemical contamination is of critical concern. Regular clothing and uniforms and equipment, vehicles, radios, firearms, may become contaminated. If you are contaminated, you can unknowingly spread a toxic or dangerous biological substance everywhere you go. Contaminated victims must be decontaminated by trained hazmat personnel at the established decontamination area. Ambulances must be protected from contamination before removing the injured. Everyone who comes in contact with a hazmat must be decontaminated at the established decontamination area. Never perform or assist decontamination on yourself, others, or on your equipment. Exposure to hazardous materials can cause long-term health problems.
"90% of the time, it's the police who are the first on the scene. Don't be a canary for your backup. In other words, don't notify your backup of the presence of hazardous materials by being sick, down, or dead."
Approach an incident site with caution. Always approach upwind, uphill, or upstream. Don't rush in. Take time to evaluate. Observe wind direction. Look for movement of smoke or vapors or of nearby trees or bushes. Note the direction of flow of any leakage. If you can't see a hazmat release, you might smell it. Rotten egg or fruit are typical hazmat odors. But chemicals can rapidly desensitize your sense of smell, or they can be odorless. The color of fires and smoke can also indicate a hazmat situation. The bottom line is, if you can see it coming, or smell it, or feel it on your skin or in your eyes, leave the area immediately. Stop at a safe distance from the site and use binoculars to assess the scene. Look for identifying placards, markings, and other clues.
We have a flammable solid in the boxcar.
Frank 10, we're at the Conrail yard. We have a boxcar that's smoking. The placard indicates flammable solids. Notify the fire department.
You cannot be complacent. A hazmat incident can change from being under control to out of control instantly.
This hazmat incident upgraded instantly. A rail tank car carrying liquid propane had a valve leak on fire. Police and fire personnel were monitoring the situation. Then The tank bloodied. The explosive force ripped the area. The equipment, staged far too close, was incinerated. 12 firefighters and 1 police officer were killed. Others were injured. The first responder should be able to detect a hazardous material. There are several clues to assist in identification. They are familiarity with hazmat locations, container shapes, markings and colors, warning placards and labels, shipping papers, and as we've seen, your physical senses. It's your business to know local hazmat locations and emergency plans. Companies using hazmats must have on hand and provide material safety data sheets to local fire and emergency planning departments. These documents give extensive information about the hazmats they use, their effects, and emergency action and contacts. Recognizing the size and shape of cargo tank trucks can indicate the contents. Round-ended cargo tanks indicate high pressure. These tanks carry up to 12,000 gallons of a gas compressed into a liquid state. Typically, these tanks carry liquefied petroleum gas and anhydrous ammonia. Flat or nearly flat ends indicate non-pressurized cargo tanks. These typically hold up to 9,000 gallons of gasoline or other petroleum products. Corrosives are often transported in 5,000 to 6,000 gallon cargo tanks with external ribs visible. Gases like oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen are often transported on compressed gas trailers. These tube trailers carry their product in a compressed gaseous state. Tube trailers are frequently seen at industrial and construction sites. Truck vans also regularly carry hazardous materials. A pressurized rail tank car will have rounded ends and a dome on the top covering the valves. There usually will be no valves on the tank bottom. Pressurized rail cars normally carry flammable and non-flammable compressed gases and Class A poisons. Non-pressurized rail tank cars have flat or nearly flat ends. They normally have more than one housing on the top and have valves on the bottom. They carry a variety of liquids and some liquefied gases. A great variety of hazardous materials are also shipped in boxcars. Stationary storage containers have similar configurations. High-pressure tanks have very rounded ends and hold LP gases, anhydrous ammonia, and high-vapor pressure flammable liquids. Atmospheric and low-pressure tanks generally are cylindrical with a variety of roof shapes. These hold many kinds of flammables and combustibles. Markings and colors indicate hazardous materials. Specific hazmat names, company names, logos, and addresses are displayed to alert you to container contents. Transported hazmats are marked with the United Nations identifying number. Look for an orange panel with the UN number on it. The UN number is often accompanied by a placard. Sometimes the UN identifying number is on a placard. Reporting marks on rail cars identify the train and contents through the rail company. Some states affix permanent identifying numbers, or PINs, to vehicles used exclusively for intrastate transport of flammable liquids and liquefied petroleum products. Information on these vehicles is obtained directly through state police operations. Packaged hazardous materials are labeled. On a placard or label, background colors indicate properties of the contents, such as orange for explosive, white for poisonous, and red for flammable. In addition, any symbol graphically indicates chemical properties. The United Nations hazard class number refers to the chemical's properties, like explosive or flammable. There are 9 hazard classes. Knowing what these numbers and letter codes mean is not critical for awareness-level people. Communicating them correctly to a dispatcher or hazmat response team is. Empty or residue-placarded rail tank cars can legally contain more than enough hazardous liquid and vapors to cause severe problems. Empty tank trucks remain placarded as full until cleaned or reloaded with non-hazardous materials. Fixed structures. Buildings housing hazmats and individual containers are marked to provide basic information for emergency response. A typical marking system uses a color and number combination. Red indicates flammability, blue indicates health hazard, and yellow indicates chemical reactivity. Each panel will display a number ranging from 0, indicating no hazard, to 4, indicating severe hazard. The 4th space at 6 o'clock position indicates any unusual reactivity with water or other special hazard. Shipping papers accompany all transported hazardous materials. They are carried in the cabs of trucks, by railroad crews, in the wheelhouses of ships, and in the cockpits of airplanes. Hazmats are listed and named first on shipping papers and are color highlighted. Carry the Department of Transportation's Emergency Response Guidebook in your vehicle. This easy reference guidebook identifies hazmats, lists specific health hazards, advises initial emergency action and first aid. The book has color-coded sections. The white section in the front includes the book use instructions and procedural information. The white section in the back defines protective actions and terminology. When you have a 4-digit UN number from a placard, label, or shipping paper, use the yellow section. Find the number 1049. You'll see the guide number 22 and the chemical name. Then turn to the orange section and find the guide number 22 at the top. This page provides initial response information for that type of chemical. If you see just the chemical name without a UN number, refer to the blue pages. Find the chemical name, compressed hydrogen, note its guide number, then find the guide number in the orange section. A placard table is in the front white section of the guidebook. Refer to it for any questionable chemical identification. The green section lists recommended isolation and evacuation distances for hazmat spills that produce poisonous vapors. Use this table only for initial response to a spill, and only if the materials are not on fire. Hazmat incident information radioed to the dispatcher should be precise and include any pertinent detail.
I have a PDA on southbound Middle Belt Road. A truck tanker is leaking anhydrous ammonia. First word, A-N-H-Y-D-R-O-U-S. Second word,
A-M-M-O-N-I-A.
the chemical ID number is 1005.
Confirm that spelling, dispatch.
Confirming on chemical spelling, Adam Nora Henry, Young David Robert, Ocean Union Sam, second word Adam, Mary Mary, Ocean Nora Ida, Adam.
Code number 1005.
Notify hazmat team, approach from the southwest. Chemical leak is severe. At least one man down. I need crowd control and EMS.
For additional assistance in handling a hazmat incident, call Chemtrek as soon as possible. A hazmat scene is dangerous and can be chaotic. As an awareness level first responder, you must establish initial scene management. Set up a secure zone around the incident. Keep non-essential people out of the area. Set up an access control point. Eliminate any possible ignition sources in the secure zone. These include engines, radios, open flame, and electrical wires. Inform arriving senior officer or hazmat incident commander of status. If necessary, local populations must be notified to evacuate to designated safe areas until informed of an all-clear status.
Remember, approach the incident site with caution.
Stop a safe distance away. Approach upwind, uphill, or upstream.
You have to balance fast action with safe action. Identify your hazards before proceeding.
Identify the hazmat. Notice container shapes. Look for placards. Use your senses. And refer to the guidebook.
Nobody wants a delayed rescue, so the sooner you communicate with hazmat experts, the sooner you can save lives without risking your own.
Communicate the information precisely. Spell out chemical names and report their ID numbers. Describe site conditions. Advise on proper approach for backup. Establish initial scene management by securing the area and setting up an access point. Brief the arriving incident commander of the situation. Notify people in the danger area to take protective actions or to evacuate.
90% of the time, it's the police who are the first on the scene. Don't be a canary for your backup. In other words, don't notify your backup of the presence of hazardous materials by being sick, down, or dead.